We're catching up with Everquest Next, a game that was announced just a few weeks back, and you really sort of opened the lid on a game that you've been working on for a long time. Can you tell us a little bit about the journey that's taken us so far to Everquest Next?
Sure. Well, when Sony Online started building Everquest Next, it was actually, 4 or 5 years ago. They were building a game that was kind of a derivative of what we had done before. Effectively, they were building Everquest III. The more that we worked on it, the more we realized that it kind of had been done before. I mean, prettier graphics on the same old game was just the same old game. And we already have Everquest and Everquest II. If we were going to spend that kind of money and time on something like that, we wanted to bring a new experience to the players. So we talked about it a lot. We formed a new team of industry veterans. We pulled them all together, and we kind of put them in a think tank, what we called a black box. Most of the company didn't even know what we were working on. We had it all screened off with security card readers and everything like that. It was really secret, because what we wanted to do was come up with a combination of ideas that nobody else was dealing with. And if we figured if we made something that was really unique and cool, then players might flock to our banner like they did the original Everquest. And if you remember back, when the first Everquest came out, there was nothing like it in the industry. I mean, nothing at all. And so we were hoping to kind of strike that kind of fire again, and that's what we were aiming at. And one of the first things that we talked about changing was getting rid of that static feel in our MMO, so that it feels like nothing ever changes in MMOs, that the players can't really do anything that causes any effective change in the world. And we wanted to change that, and that's where we started.
That takes us to destruction, I guess, but there are more layers to it than just destruction.
Destruction wasn't actually the first thing. We actually wanted to find a new way to tell stories to players, to be able to bring the worlds to life in different ways. Normal MMOs, including Everquest I and Everquest II, have a ton of lore in them. There's a lot of depth and story and characterization in there, but it's not always really easy for players to notice or find. What we wanted to do was try to figure out a way that they could participate in those stories and actually feel like they were making an impact on the world. So we started out thinking about the permanent change stuff, the rallying calls, and figuring out how we could get players involved in large groups to be able to affect change and dramatically accelerate the storylines and have them told at the pacing that the players decided would happen. And that's where we started. And those systems started building up and everything like that. When Jeff Butler joined our team, which was really early on, but it was after we had just barely started talking about the permanent change stuff, he had a big impact on the game, because he said, dudes, what you're doing is really cool. But if the moment-to-moment gameplay doesn't change, it's only going to feel like a veneer. It's only going to feel like, even though it's really awesome that the players can make this change, it wasn't going to feel different from moment to moment. So he decided that what we should do is add in destructibility. And that's where we started messing around with the core gameplay and figuring out how we should change it away from being Dungeons and Dragons and making it more multi-classing and all that stuff. And by the time we finally had all the shapes together, it created all the puzzle pieces came together and formed a jigsaw that I've never seen before, and I don't think anybody else has. And so now we're building that critter.
All right, so of course you've sort of, the cat is out of the bag, the game has been presented. What's the reaction been like from fans? Because I know some of the fans are really, really conservative, while others might be open more to the changes that you're bringing.
Well, we've had a really fantastic reaction to the announcement. It's almost been universally positive. There's a few concerns from players that are used to the other games, and they've been playing them. I mean, that's natural. When you play a game for 15 years, you love that game, or else you wouldn't have played it that long.
But those games still cater to those players as well. I mean, you even had the rollback on Everquest, like the original, if you wanted to play it like the original, right?
Yeah, that's true. Those games do exist, but we're not trying to ostracize those people away from from playing the new game. It's just that because the game mechanics are very, very different, it seems like what we're doing is dropping the old games away completely, but that's not the case. We are changing things, like you've probably seen the discussions about the holy trinity of tank and healer and damage per second guys. Those roles still exist. They just play in a different kind of style. You still have characters that are going to try to interpose themselves between the bad guys and the rest of the group and defend them. You're still going to have people that are, buffing and supporting and doing all those things. They're just going to be doing it in different ways than what you're used to, with a different kind of flexible style. So, I mean, you can't have combat without people fulfilling roles. And have it be exciting. Let's put it that way. If everybody's the same, that's not a fun game. We wanted to bring more than that to the game, and we're very, very savvy about MMOs. The leadership on this team is extremely experienced. Most of us have 10 or 15 years of game development experience, and all of us have at least 4 or 5 MMOs under our belt. So we know what we're talking about, and what we're doing is shuffling the pieces around and making a shape that we think will be enormously fun and flexible for the players, but still preserving the things that make an MMO special.
Right. I'd like to thank you for your time. We're out of time, but thank you so much, and I look forward to playing.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your time.